I might want to share my screen. All right, there we go. Hello, everybody. Gonna get started in 1 second. All right, there we go. Perfect. Okay, so hello. I'm so happy you're here. So I'm doing a 3-day free healing retreat. I'm gonna be doing these like 2 to 4 times a year because it's just like I want to teach you guys some of the stuff that I did to heal, some of the stuff from my certification, some of the stuff that I teach my clients, and all of the things, because I just feel like everybody on planet Earth should know all of this information because they should, because it has literally changed my life. And the more that you can learn about this stuff, the more that it will also change your life. Also, if you're on TikTok, if you go to the link in my bio and sign up there, you can get the recording of this video with the PowerPoint, because I have a PowerPoint right now that I'm using and there's some charts and stuff on there. So if you want the recording of it, just go there to the link, sign up, and then later today you will get the recording of the video. So anyways, so today is day 1. So it's broken up into 3 days. Day 1 is mind, which is self-awareness. Day 2 is body, which is trauma healing and nervous system regulation. And then day 3 is soul, which is manifestation and intuition. Also, if you guys have any questions during this, you can put it there and I will try to answer them as much as I can. If not, I will go through at the end and look to see what questions there were. So, day 1, the mind, self-awareness. Okay, so first, let me introduce myself. My name is Taylor. I am an intuitive healing guide. I am certified, and I have a certification in trauma-informed somatic facilitator. I'm also Reiki 1 and Reiki 2 certified, and I'm a certified inner child and energetics coach. So a little bit of like how I got here, like how did I get here? So one, I have always known that I was meant for more. I didn't know what that meant, but for my whole life, I just had like this innate knowing that I was meant for more. And then I got led down this path, and now I'm living my life's purpose. But when I was younger, my dad killed himself. So I had like a lot of trauma and I didn't know how to process it and deal with it when I was younger. And then that followed me into adulthood, which we will get more into that later throughout this. So things that I've healed. Let me move this up. There we go. So things that I have healed within myself is people pleasing. People pleasing is a trauma response if you don't know that, but people pleasing, putting others before myself, all of that. I had disordered eating and body image issues. I have healed that. I was an overworker, an overachiever. I hustled for my worth. Nothing I ever did felt good enough, which is the worthiness wound. So I hustled for my worth. And then I also repressed parts of myself. So now I am fully expressed is how I want to explain it. So that's just a little bit about me. If you want to know more about me, you can go to my Instagram, DM me, and we can chat, because I'll tell you whatever you would like to know. Okay, so are you ready to create the life and freedom you desire without your past trauma keeping you stuck? We don't realize how much our past trauma, wounds, conditioning, programming is holding us back until we become aware of it. Okay, so this is for you if you are ready to create a life that sets your soul on fire. You know you are meant for more, but don't know how to get there. You know that you have some healing to do, but you don't know where to start. You want to deepen the relationship to yourself and others. You are ready to step into full self-expression with confidence. Yeah. Okay, so like I kind of said earlier, my coaching approach is mind, body, soul. I like to look at clients as a whole being. We can't just look at the mind, we can't just look at the body. We have to look at our whole entire being as a whole. So for instance, if you're feeling anxious, your heart can race or your stomach can get upset, right? So like to me, it's like you have this thought and then you get anxious and then your body has a response to it. This is why we can't just look at the mind and body separate, because they're working together. So we have to work with them together. And today is all about the mind. Okay, so the first step to change to healing is self-awareness. That's it. You cannot heal, you cannot change if you are not self-aware. So again, for a long time, I was on autopilot. Most of us are on autopilot, just responding and reacting in the ways that we always have. We're just like, we just believe that the world is a one way. We see the world in one way and one perception. And that is just because we're unaware. There is no wrong, there is no right. It's just like, you don't know what you don't know until you know it. So the first step is to become highly self-aware. That is the first step to any type of healing or change. Okay, so our mind has the subconscious and the conscious mind. So, but here's the crazy thing. So the crazy thing is that we are only living 5% of the time from our conscious mind. 5%. The other 95% is from our subconscious mind. And we're going to jump into this because this will make a little bit more sense in a minute. Okay, so what is our conscious mind, which I already said is 5%. So our conscious mind is awareness, being aware of our current thoughts, feelings, sensations, perceptions, and what we are actively thinking right now. So whatever you're thinking right now is your conscious mind. You sitting here listening to this is your conscious mind. And then there's also the part of our mind that is logic and reasoning, operates in the present moment, problem solving, decision making. Okay, so that's the conscious mind, which is only 5%. And then we have the subconscious mind, which is 95%. 95% of the time, this is where we're living from. So this holds our automatic processes that occur without you being aware. So that's like breathing, your heartbeat, you know, like keeping your body alive. But this also includes our nervous system responses. So all of us have automatic nervous system responses that happen in certain situations. And then once we become aware of them, we can process them, transmute them, release them. Our subconscious mind is also, I'm sorry, I'm like looking at like 3 different places. So if I'm not always looking right there, that's okay. So our subconscious mind is also long-term memory. It stores long-term memories, beliefs, habits, and past experiences that influence your behavior and emotions without you consciously realizing it. So again, if the main thing that you need to get from the subconscious mind is that things are happening and we are behaving and reacting in ways that we aren't aware of, that we don't really realize. They're so programmed that that's just how we show up in the world. And then our subconscious mind has to do with our emotions and intuition, and our habits and conditioning, forms and maintains habits. So this is where I used to be a personal trainer, and you know, people wanted to change the way they ate, they wanted to work out, they wanted to change their habits. But the problem is that people are trying to change their habits from their conscious mind, and the conscious mind is only 5%. That's why habit change is so hard. That's why people fall off really fast, is because we're trying to change things from the conscious mind and not the subconscious mind. Okay, so again, this is why change is so hard, because we're not working at the subconscious mind. This is why talking about things only gets you so far. I tell people all the time, any time of healing and change is 20% mind, 80% body. 20% mind, 80% body. This is why self-help books don't really change much, because when you read a self-help book, you're using your conscious mind, you're reading through it, and then you don't integrate anything from the self-help book. So again, the mind, 5% conscious, logic, reasoning, creativity. And then we have the subconscious mind, which is 95%, and it holds our skills, our habits, our emotional reactions, hardwired behaviors, conditioned responses, associative memories, routine thoughts and feelings, attitudes, beliefs, and perceptions. So this is also why Okay, another way that we can look at the subconscious mind is if, like, let's say you hear a song that comes on the radio from like when you were in first grade and you know every word to that song, right? But like that's your subconscious mind. Like it's like, oh, I know this song. I haven't heard it in forever. I haven't sung it in forever, but it came on and I know it. That's because our subconscious mind literally stores everything. We just can't we can't, our conscious mind can't be aware of all of those things all the time. So our subconscious mind holds them. Okay, so what is the role that the subconscious mind has in healing? We have to start working with the subconscious instead of the conscious if we want to start healing. So again, the conscious mind, 70% of people spend most of their time in their analytical mind. This isn't where healing happens. Healing happens when we reprogram the subconscious mind. We do this by slowing down brain waves. Okay, so again, mindset work 20%, body work 80%. And self-awareness does not equal healing. Yes, self-awareness is the first step to healing, but it does not equal healing at all. So I get this from my clients all the time, and I know I have experienced this. I'll be like, I know I shouldn't feel this way. I know I'm aware of this. I'm aware of this. I know this, da 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 da, but it doesn't change how I feel because being aware of it does not change how you feel about it, and being aware of it doesn't actually process and heal what you're trying to work through. Okay. Just making sure nobody popped in. Okay. Okay, so the things that are living in our subconscious mind that we aren't aware of, that we need to start becoming aware of so we can start working through it. So, our trauma lives in our subconscious mind. This is why people will have experiences where they have repressed their trauma, like they consciously have repressed their trauma, they don't remember it, and then something will happen that it'll trigger them to remember it, or they'll start doing some type of healing and it'll come up. That is because it is living in the subconscious mind, which does, and it doesn't always mean that you know that it happened, but it's still there, and eventually it can, your conscious mind can remember it. Your inner child, your ego, and your triggers, which we're going to jump into all of these things. All right. And again, this is why working at the conscious mind isn't going to get you very far, because all of these things live in our subconscious, and healing happens at the body and the subconscious mind. Okay, so trauma. The reality is that there are many people who cannot pinpoint to oh my goodness, I'm sorry guys. The reality is that there are many people who cannot point to several moments or even one moment that broke their life apart. Many might not be able to admit that any part of their childhood was damaging. That doesn't mean that there wasn't trauma present. I've yet to meet a person who has not experienced some level of trauma in their life. I believe that our understanding of trauma should be widened to include a diverse range of overwhelming experiences that occurs in a state of relative helplessness. Now, this is from the holistic psychologist, but people, okay, I want to say we all have trauma, and that is not something to be feared. It's not something to be scared of. It's just something to be aware of. A lot of people feel like if their parents are still were together growing up and like they had a decent childhood, that means that they don't have trauma, but that's not true. Every single one of us has trauma. And trauma is not what happens to you. It's your body's response and ability to what happens to you. So that's why two people can experience the same thing, and to one person it will be really traumatic, and to the other person it won't really like affect them at all. This is why we can't we can't like grade's not the right word, but we can't say one person's trauma was worse than the other person's. It's how they experience it and how their body handles it. Okay, our inner child. So your inner child, are the consistently unmet physical or emotional, physical, and spiritual needs from our childhood expressed through our subconscious that to continue to impact our present self. The inner child is a petrified part of our psyche that formed when we were limited in our emotional coping abilities. This is why many of us act like children when we are threatened or upset. The reality is that many of us are stuck in these childlike states. We are emotionally illiterate because we are little children in adult bodies. So one thing I forgot to mention is that our subconscious mind is programmed from ages 0 to 7, and now some research is saying 0 to 12. Okay, so this just said consistently unmet emotional, physical, and spiritual needs. So the best way to describe the inner child is, have you ever responded in a way and you're like, that was crazy, like what the fuck, like why did I respond that way? That is your inner child. When we respond in a way that is like irrational and then afterwards we realize we shouldn't have responded that way, that is our inner child showing up because a wound has been triggered. So we have our inner child, we have our adult self, our self now, and then we have our higher self, right? So our inner child, again, is all of the unmet needs that we had in childhood. And it could be as like, again, this doesn't have to be big things. It could be literally just be one day your mom wasn't able to make it to a sporting event and you internalized that and you took it in and then you got a wound from that, right? So that's our inner child. And then our adult self is our self now. Hi, right now. And then our higher self is the part of us that knows what is best for us. Okay. The more that we heal our inner child, the more that we look at it, the more that we become aware of it, the more that we can connect to our higher self. Our inner child loves to come in and hijack. Anytime we feel upset, threatened, like we aren't good enough, our inner child comes in and hijacks the situation. Okay. All right, next, triggers. Okay, so all of these are like grouped together, right? We have our subconscious mind. Within our subconscious mind is our trauma, our triggers, our ego, and our inner child. But like our inner child, all of these things come from our inner child. So our inner child has trauma. Our trauma has wounds. So then we have triggers from our wounds. Okay, so triggers are moments when you feel most activated and possibly don't even know why. When triggered, you can revert to childlike behaviors or turn to a coping mechanism to numb out the uncomfortable feeling. A trigger happens when an event activates an implicit memory emotional response that brings forth an unresolved experience that you didn't like or couldn't control. Almost anything can serve as a trigger. A song can trigger an implicit memory of a time when you felt unsafe, or a scent of cologne can trigger the feeling of being with someone who harmed you. That's Gabrielle Bernstein. So again, like when you were triggered, that's our inner child coming in. Triggers are our biggest teachers. All triggers are doing is saying, hey, there is something here that still needs to be healed. That's it. That is literally all our triggers are. When we can start befriending our triggers, when we can start becoming aware of them, and when we can start being like, okay, that's interesting, right? This day is all about self-awareness, right? So like it's that's interesting. I was triggered. Interesting. I wonder why I was triggered. Or this person says this certain thing and it triggers me. A lot of triggers can be, I don't feel good enough. I don't feel seen. I don't feel heard. Crossing a boundary, right? Like all triggers are a way to teach us. They're our biggest teachers. So again, she says, when triggered, we revert to childlike behaviors or turn to coping mechanisms to numb out the uncomfortable feelings. So this is why sometimes when you're triggered, you react in irrational ways. You react in a way where you're like, that's crazy. I cannot believe I reacted like that. That's because this is what happens when you get triggered. So I'm 29, right? So this is what happens. when I get triggered, I will revert back to my 8-year-old self. I will revert back to my 12-year-old self. I will revert back to my 3-year-old self. Whatever trigger that is getting brought up is the age that you oh my gosh, guys, I'm struggling to talk. Is the age that you revert back to. Is the age that you revert back to. Right? And then what we do in those moments is we have to ask ourselves, we have to ask your inner child, what do you need right now? What do you need most from me right now? I need to be seen. I need to be heard. I need to be loved. And then we can give our inner child that. And then the other thing is lost my train of thought. Triggers, inner child. Oh, that's what I was going to say. So the cool thing about working with your inner child and your triggers is that what will happen is eventually, 1, you won't get triggered as much. 2, what used to trigger you won't trigger you anymore. Or 3, you'll recover from a trigger faster. So if you're somebody that gets triggered a lot and you're emotionally reactive, when you start to do this work, that will slowly go down. You won't be as triggered as much and you won't react as much. Okay, does anybody have any questions so far? My throat is dry, I'm sorry, guys. Okay, the ego. Okay. Again, notice that everything I have just read is from childhood. The ego, developed in childhood, is formed through the beliefs and ideas imparted on us by our parent figures, friends, immediate community, and greater environment. What we call our personality or self-identity that lives in our subconscious. So everything that I've just said, again, lives in our subconscious, is from childhood. That is why we have to become aware of this stuff, because if we're not aware of it, we can't work through it, and it's just going to keep subconsciously dictating our life. Ego beliefs don't come out of nowhere. They are grounded in lived experiences. So throughout our lives, we create a story about who we are based on our experiences. This narrative includes aspects of our identity, opinions, and beliefs. The ego works to keep us living within familiar narratives. Though often painful, they are predictable. The predictable, as we know, feels safer than the uncertainty of the unknown. So this is why change is so fucking hard. This is why change is so hard. So our nervous system and our subconscious mind, which they are intertwined, right? So like, again, your subconscious mind stores all of these experiences that you had. So then your subconscious mind is like, oh my gosh, this has happened in the past. We need to react. So then your nervous system has a reaction, right? So your subconscious mind and your nervous system work together. So this is the shitty thing. The only thing your subconscious mind and your nervous system are concerned about is keeping you safe. Your subconscious mind and your nervous system like to live in fear because they want to be on high alert to keep you safe. And here's the even more crazy. Living in familiar, doing familiar, living in familiar things, even if it is not a good experience, even if it's not where you want to be, feels safer to your nervous system and subconscious mind than a new life and a new experience that would be better for you. Unhealthy, unhappy, unhealthy, unhappy, familiar scenarios feel safer to your nervous system and subconscious mind than the happy, healthy, unfamiliar. So familiar, safe. Unfamiliar, not safe. So this is why change is hard. This is why people stay in unhealthy relationships, unhealthy scenarios. This is also why people will date the same person, date a different person. Well, they'll date the same person just in a different body with a different name. Like they all, this is like and this is an extreme example, but somebody that goes from one abusive relationship to another is because abuse is familiar to them. And that feels safer than non-abuse. It's like really, it's hard to understand, but once you get it, you get it. Okay, what else? The ego. Okay, the ego is a master storyteller, creating narratives of why people do or say things to keep the identity we have about ourselves as true. Okay, so let me read through this and then I'm going to come back to what I was going to say. The ego's core objective is to protect our identity at all times at whatever cost. I am statements are our identity. I am smart, I am boring, etc. The ego interprets any disagreement or criticism as a direct threat to our very existence. When our ego is activated, everything is personal. Okay, so this is what's crazy. So again, our limiting beliefs and what we believe about ourselves lives in our subconscious mind. Okay. So again, our subconscious mind wants to keep us safe and wants to prove that what we believe to be true. So again, let's say we have two people, same scenarios. Let's say you're at the grocery store and some asshole comes up to you and is a complete dick. Okay. Same scenario. This person is like, whatever, they're a dick. I'm moving on. And then this person is like, oh my God, everybody hates me. Why does everybody hate me? Da 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 da. So this person has a core belief that everybody hates me. And this person has a core belief that she's confident, whatever, doesn't care. So scenarios, your brain will do whatever it can with scenarios to prove to you how you feel about yourself is true, even if that is not actually what is going on. And this is really, really hard to grasp because everybody's reality is valid. Everybody's perception is valid and it's all different. So we could line 10 people up, again, 10 people up, experience the same thing, and all 10 of them will say a different thing about the experience because of the beliefs they have, the experiences they had, and all of the things. So start becoming aware of the I am statements. What are I am statements you say all the time? I am stupid, I am happy, I am dumb, like whatever it is. That's very, very important information because that shows me what you believe about yourself. Okay? And again, our ego doesn't like criticism because it attacks what we believe to be true. So this is why people get very defensive when somebody else has a different view than them, because your ego is activated and it's like, this is a threat to who I am as a person. Okay. Okay, also, like I already said, the nervous system and the subconscious mind are connected. All of our nervous systems have different automatic responses based off of things I just discussed. So not only do we need to become aware of those things, we need to become aware of our body's responses to those things. So I'm going to give you an example. Let's say you grew up in a household where there was a lot of yelling and a lot of fighting. So at that time, to keep you safe, your nervous system had some type of fight or flight response. So it either got defensive and got fightful and argued back, or it could have had a freeze response where it would shut down. So now, as an adult, anytime somebody yells, it triggers you, right? There's that trigger. So now anytime somebody yells, you get triggered and your automatic response comes on. So that could be fight, freeze, right? Your automatic response comes on. The cool thing is that when we become aware of this, we can slowly but surely work through these automatic responses. So every time you and your partner get in a fight, you don't get triggered and fight back. You're able to pause and be like, oh, okay, I'm triggered. My nervous system is activated. Let's pause a second, right? So the goal is, can we learn how to respond instead of react? Respond instead of react. So a lot of people are reacting. Triggered, react, triggered, react, triggered, react. Those automatic responses, triggered, react, triggered, react, triggered, react, triggered, react. Okay. And what we want to start to do is respond. I'm triggered. I'm aware I'm triggered. I'm going to take a step back. I'm going to acknowledge that I'm in my fight response. I'm going to do something to release this fight response, and then I'm going to come back to this conversation. That is responding. Your life, your relationships, your communication will become so much better when you can learn how to start responding instead of reacting. Okay, so your subconscious mind is creating your current life. Your subconscious mind is creating your current reality. Again, all our subconscious mind wants to do is prove that what we believe is to be true, okay? So there's this thing I learned in my first certification is called BITFAR. So it's beliefs, thoughts, feelings, actions, results. So our beliefs dictate our results. Our subconscious beliefs dictate our entire life. Again, these subconscious beliefs have been programmed from ages 0 to 12. Again, our beliefs live in our subconscious mind, right? So these beliefs, the beliefs that we have, cause us to have certain thoughts, feelings, and actions, which gives us results. So you may not be getting the results that you want, and it's not because you need to try harder, it's because you need to change your beliefs. So what I want you to do, the homework, the practice for today's session is what would be your sets my soul on fire life, right? Like I want you to write down if your most magical, perfect, your most magical, perfect sets my soul on fire life, what would it look like? Write down money, career, relationship, like whatever it is, I want you to write down. I want you to write that down, okay? And then now we want to write down, what do you believe about this desired life, this life that you want? What do you believe about it? So write down everything that you believe about the life you want. So that could, and you could, again, write it like, it's not possible, it's too hard, only certain people can do that, X, Y, and Z. Or another way you could do it is you could start writing money is da 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 da, and then start writing that. And then whatever career you want, the career I want is da 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 da. The relationship I want is da 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 da. And this will start to give you awareness around the subconscious beliefs that you have, awareness around the limiting beliefs that you have. Because once we can start becoming aware of them, then we can start working through them. So again, your current life, your current reality is based on your subconscious beliefs. It's based on what you believe without you even realizing it. So let me see what I had next. Yeah, so after you do that, after you write down how you believe, what you actually believe about the life that you want, I want you to ask yourself, are your beliefs lining up with your desired life, right? So you wrote down, this is my desired life. This is the life that I want to live. This is my dream life. Like write it all down. And then you wrote down, I don't believe this is possible, or I believe only certain people can do that, or da 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 da. If your desired life and your beliefs aren't lining up, it'll be hard to get your desired life. Once your beliefs line up with the life that you want, then it'll be so much easier for that life to come in fruition. But if you're like, I want this life, but this is what I believe, you're just gonna be hitting each other. They're just gonna be knocking heads, and it's not gonna work, right? But if you have your beliefs are matching your desired life, then it'll go like this, and then it will come together. Okay, so I hope that makes sense. So again, this is just self-awareness. True healing happens at the body. True healing happens at the body. So we'll be jumping into the body tomorrow. This is I love this stuff so much. So I hope this was helpful. Let me stop this for a second. There we go. Okay. So I hope this was helpful. I hope you got something out of it. I cannot wait for tomorrow's training. I am so, so excited. So on day 3, um, I'm going to be talking about a program that I'm doing, but I just wanted to talk a little bit about it today. So I am relaunching my group coaching program, but I'm doing it almost 70% off. And this is the lowest that it'll ever be. ever be. I already have 2 people signed up for it, and there's only 4 more spots available. But it'll be $200 a month for 4 months. I will go more into it on day 3. But if that is something you are interested in, please, please, please DM me on Instagram and we can chat about it more, see if it is a right fit for you and see if it's something what you want to do. So again, I love you guys so much. I hope this was helpful. I literally cannot explain how much I love teaching this stuff because it has literally changed my life. And all I want is it for you to change your life. So have an amazing day, and I will see you guys tomorrow.